Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. 7th century Arabia. As many of us know, as I imagine all of us know, the Hajj was actually celebrated. It was a festival. It was a yearly and annual event that was recognized by the Jahili Arabs of the 7th century Arabia. Hajj was a very important and integral part of the cultural landscape of Arabia. Regardless of what tribe you belonged to, even what religion, you knew about the Hajj. And yes, the link or the ties to the Prophet Ibrahim had become diluted, had become lost even. But yet they continued to recognize the importance and the centrality of this great pilgrimage where people from all over the region, not only the Jazeera, not only the peninsula, but the entire region would come to Mecca to perform the pilgrimage. The pilgrimage was a rite, a cultural rite, R-I-T-E, a cultural and religious rite of the 7th century Arabian context. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did what? He recognized and what we call in sociological terms appropriated the Hajj. The Hajj recognizing the centrality of the Hajj not only in the context of Arabia, but also linking it directly to Tawheed, to the monotheism that was celebrated and that was recognized, that was proselytized by the Prophet Abraham, by the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. And by doing so, the genius of that act, of course being guided by Allah to do so, but recognizing the Hajj as a central key pillar of Islam. It not only recognized that Islam was a part of the Arabian context, the context of 7th century Arabia, it also linked, inextricably connected and linked Islam to the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. As I said, a figure, a person, a symbol, a sha'ari lillah, a symbol of God that was recognized by almost everyone in Arabia, recognized who the Prophet Ibrahim was, who the Prophet Abraham was. And so this act of recognizing and celebrating the Hajj, as the Prophet ﷺ did, is that it rooted Islam within the cultural context of Arabia. That is a process, again, that we in sociology would refer to as indigenizing something. You indigenize Islam to the cultural context. And this was not just something that was the cultural genius or the genius of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but rather it remained a hallmark of Islamic, of our Muslim civilization, of Islamic civilization. Perhaps unlike any other civilization, Islam rooted itself in the cultural context of its land, of the land in which it found itself. So as Islam spread into parts of Africa, it took on an African flavor. As it spread to parts of the subcontinent in Asia, it was imbued with an Asiatic or an Asian flavor. While the where the universal messages, the message of Islam remained consistent, remained unchanging, unwavering, yes, but it was imbued with a cultural taste or an expression that was unique to that area, to that country. And so this process of indigenizing Islam within the cultural context of its land remained the hallmark of Muslim civilization. And this is why we dress differently. right? This is why I'm dressed the way I'm dressed. My parents are from the subcontinent. They're from India. They dressed a certain way. Others dress another way. We have foods that are unique to us. We have those things that are culturally unique to where we come from. Our masajid look differently. You can't go to a mosque in Africa and then go to a mosque in India or the subcontinent or Arabia and not recognize the cultural nuances that differentiate the architecture, the beauty, the splendor of that architecture, of that cultural expression. This has been the hallmark of Islam. This has been the hallmark of our civilization. Because again, our civilization, our faith is one that is open to all of humanity, so that no one, no part of the human race can feel as though they are alien to Islam, or that Islam is alien to them. Becoming a Muslim does not become an act of cultural apostasy, meaning that you can still be very much an American when you embrace Islam. You can very much be an Indian and become a Muslim. You will remain an Arab and still be Muslim. You belong to the cultural context. And I say all of this, brothers and sisters, because we live in a time where demagogues and politicians seek to alienate and divide portions of humanity, specifically people who look like you and I, who are not Caucasian, who do not belong to the majority class or the majority cultural expression within America. There is this growing movement and current that is very real of alienating and marginalizing people, minorities in this country. And so I say that within that context, that the first stage of wiping out a race or to fully eradicate a people from that land is to otherize that community, is to make that community seem alien to this land. Islam and the Muslim community is not alien to America. It is a part of the American fabric. It is a part of the history of this country from its very inception. Whether it was the transatlantic slave route, those that came involuntarily, in chains and in bondage, but who came as Muslims to these shores. Or it was those who were hired and were brought on as indentured servants, or as cheap labor, who came from Syria and Iraq and settled in places in the Midwest like Michigan and Illinois and other parts of the country. Islam has always been a part of the American history and of the American tapestry. Islam has always been, in fact, the first country to recognize the United States as a sovereign nation was the country of Morocco, was the king of Morocco. That is a connection that is inextricable, that no matter how much demagogues or politicians may try to paint Islam and Muslims as alien or as foreign to America, we cannot allow them to do so, because that is the first step in eradicating a people from this culture, from these shores. And so that is a recognition and a responsibility for us to recognize the fact that not only do we belong to this country, that we are part of the cultural fabric of America. And if there is a future to Islam in America that is going to outlast the lives of those people in this room today, if there is a future for our community, then Islam must be indigenized within the cultural context of America, as it was in India, as it was in Egypt, as it was in Syria, as it was in the Far East. That has always been the part of our civilization. And that is the challenge that we have as the first community that has fully settled and established itself in America. Other communities came before us, Muslim communities. but they were either absorbed within they were assimilated entirely, or they immigrated back home. But this is the first settlement, as we say. Again, in sociological terms. This is the first settlement of our community. And so the challenges that confront us are unique to us within the American context. And these are challenges that other communities have faced, other faith communities, other minorities have faced in America. But that is the challenge that we have. And that challenge begins لِتَعَارَفُوا, so that we can engage in a conversation. We have to know our neighbors. We have to know our coworkers. We have to know those things that unite us, those things that we share in common with our neighbors, with our friends. We have to reach out. We have to allow people to know us. Study after study comes out and says that if those Americans who know a Muslim or have a Muslim as a coworker or a neighbor or as a friend, that their impressions of Islam and Muslims change dramatically. And so it is our unique responsibility, لِتَعَارَفُوا, so that we may know one another, to engage in that cultural exchange with our neighbors, with our coworkers. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us, gives us the tawfiq, the ability to be guided, to guide others, to be a source of light and hope, and a source of mercy, a source of guidance to Allah, a path that leads to righteousness and living a life that is rooted in God, that is rooted in righteousness and piety. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless this community. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us individually and collectively. رَبَّنَا آتَيْنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ رَبَّنَا لَا تُؤَاخِذْنَا إِن نَّسِينَا أَوْ أَخْطَأْنَا رَبَّنَا وَلَا تَحْمِلْ عَلَيْنَا إِصْرًا كَمَا حَمَلْتَهُ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِنَا رَبَّنَا وَلَا تُحَمِّلْنَا مَا لَا طَاقَةَ لَنَا بِهِ وَاعْفُ عَنَّا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين عيد مبارك إن شاء الله عيد مبارك